Very important note here, before I break down how to sell or buy in London session, you cannot enter trades past 12 a.m., which is midday. Whatever time zone you're in, it's an hour before the US session opens. So you don't want to be entering trades past 12. Reason for this is that it's lunchtime, so there won't be much volume to carry a trade. And then US opens in an hour with different buyers, different sellers in the market, different bankers. So they have a different plan, so your trade doesn't apply to it. So you can only enter trades in the first 4 hours of London. You cannot enter trades past the first 4 hours. So that's past 12 a.m. You can only enter trades in the first 4 hours. That's an important rule that you have to remember. But now I'm going to show you how you can actually plan, buy and sell and actually get in the market to trade these pairs. Now this is a selling example. So the higher time frame bias was bearish. So this is just before London opened. So again, as long as it's at least 10 minutes before the session and you've got all this ready, you're fine. So this is just before London opened. All we're thinking is sells. So we have our lower time frame zones on, which was this US zone. So if I just draw on, it was Asia high there. And it was also a London zone from the 2 days before. It was the London high. So we have a very nice zone there for London. If I throw it on the 15, we also have Asia low right there. And then we have this next London session zone down there. So when we have these three zones on, we can now start to think, what are we looking for? So we always have to have a plan on what we're actually looking for in terms of the market movement. So the things we were looking for, the possibilities we can start to say at this point is either a pull up to this London zone and then a move to the downside like this, or we're looking for a break and retest of this London zone like that, pull back in, and then a push down below. Remember, there has to be a 15-minute close below this zone for it to count as a break and retest. Otherwise, it's just not a strong enough confirmation. Or potentially the other thing we look for is a break below this London zone, retest and a drop to the downside, but that's quite far away, so it's not as realistic. So the main two things we are looking for is either a push up to this zone, this clear London session zone, a rejection, and then a move to the downside, or we're looking for a break and retest, pullback, and then a drop to the downside. So you have to know before the session's even opened what you're going to be looking for. So when it happens, you can instantly get in on it like that. So I said what we're looking for when it's buys. In terms of sells, the only things we look for is either a push up to a zone and then a drop off to the downside, and we're looking to catch in up there. It doesn't matter how big this push up is. Again, it could be tiny, just like on the previous buys, or it could be a big push up like that. Tap in, reject. That's the thing we look for in sells. Or we look for break and retest sells like that of the zone. So now we know our higher time frame zone, our higher time frame bias. We have our lower time frame zones on, and now we know what we're looking for in terms of market structure. Now we know what we're looking for going into the session. I'll just remove these real quick. Now what you have to do, so the session is about to start, you have to put it on the 5-minute time frame. So now on the 5-minute, to be more specific, what we look for is a push up to this zone and then a bearish 5-minute candle. As soon as we see a bearish 5-minute candle at this zone, we can sell. Or if we get a 15-minute close below here, then a pullback and then a bearish candle there on the 5-minute, we can sell. So if I'm going to play out what happened, price pushes, it ends up rejecting that zone and then pushing off to the upside, and it taps into the zone up there. But we can't sell yet because we don't have a 5-minute bearish candle. Next candle, let's see, still not bearish. Next candle, is it bearish? No, still not bearish. We're not showing signs of rejection just yet, but this candle right here is most definitely bearish. So once we see that 5-minute candle, we can now safely say we are rejecting the zone that we had on and the zone that we had planned to look for sells for. So we were looking push up, rejection, then a move to the downside. And how do we know that we're rejecting? Well, because the 5-minute is showing a bearish candle, indicating that we can have further bearish candles. So there will be separate videos on stop loss and targets, but the entry, you can just enter as soon as that 5-minute candle closes. As soon as you get a bearish candle there, you can enter. And for now, I'm just going to put the target down at the next US low down, the next London zone down, and I'll play that out. So you can see from that point, price just drops and drops and drops. And did it actually tap in? If I just play it out, yes. Well, I mean, it tapped into the zone. As I said, there's a video on targets, but say you just targeted the zone there, then it would have tapped in. So what actually happened? Did it play out as we planned? Yes, it did. It pushed up. We got to the 5 minutes. So all you need to know about rejection candles is that go on the 5 minute and just look for a bearish candle at one of your zones. As soon as you see a bearish candle, you can get to selling. The next example of how to sell in London session is from GBP AUD. Now, the plan that we have, we're only selling because the higher time frame bias is telling us that, and the zones we have, the lower time frame zones, we're either looking for, so this is the plan that you have to have before you go into the session, we're either looking for a push up to Asia high, then a drop to the downside, or we're looking for a break and retest of Asia low and then a drop to the downside like that. So these are the two things that we're looking for going into London session. So knowing this, if I just take them two off, really simple, then onto the 5 minute. Now all we're looking for is a push up, a 5 minute sell candle, and then a drop, or a break below, and then a 5 minute sell candle, and then a drop. So here is what happens. You'll see that on the 5 minute, we end up rejecting this zone here and then pushing a bit off to the upside. Now people, this is a side note, it's not really related to this, but people would be buying here if they didn't understand higher time frame bias. You cannot buy here because a higher time frame bias is only bearish. And here is what happens. Price does end up sinking below, and we do get a 15 minute candle close down here. Now, once this 15 minute closed below, we could say that we have broken below the zone, and the next 5 minute after that candle tapped in and closed as a strong bearish candle. So that was very clearly rejection. You could have sold at that point, but I'm actually going to show you something else that happens. It messes around for a bit, then it comes back, taps in, and then you can get selling once more. So initially you could have sold from there. The target is just down, it stops just above the zone. So this is a kind of two examples of a break and retest. If I just show you what happens, so it goes down and hits TP, but I'm going to remove that so I can show you more clearly. So there was two examples to get in on this break and retest here. There was this candle, there was the rejection, and then there was this candle that tapped in and rejected as well. Now the 15 minute there closed below, meaning that we could have sold as soon as that closed below and we saw a tap into the zone and a rejection, and that came in the next 5 minute. So this is kind of to highlight that break and retest don't always look the same. Sometimes it'll literally just be one candle like that and then it'll drop. Sometimes it'll do the whole movement down and a big pull up, rejection, then a drop like that. So it doesn't matter which of the two it is. It can be a small break and retest with not much movement, not much pullback up, or it can be a one with a big pull up like that. But that is how to sell in London session. The two formats, so it's either a pull up, a rejection, and then a drop to the downside, or it's a drop down, a pullback, and then a drop down again from a key zone there. So they are the two ways in which you can sell in London session.